Well, a federal judge absolutely slammed Alina Habba yesterday in a ruling about the charges she brought against the mayor of Newark, New Jersey. You may have seen it. This is the case of the mayor of Newark, Ras Baraka, who was arrested last week at an ICE detention facility in Newark. And it just occurred to me, if Alina married him, she would be Alina Habba Baraka. Habba Baraka. That's kind of a cool name, actually. But anyway, he was arrested last week when he went to an ICE detention facility in Newark. Not sure why he was there. He says it was to inspect the place because it hadn't met code, the building codes. It wasn't living up to the building codes. So he says he went to inspect it before they brought in a bunch of new people. But if you did see it, this whole thing was a setup. It was a setup. The mayor did absolutely nothing wrong. And there's evidence for that now by the fact that Alina Habba's office has, in an embarrassing and disgraceful move, been forced to request that the charges be dismissed. She was forced to drop the charges because there was absolutely no evidence of wrongdoing on the part of the mayor. He did nothing wrong. He should never have been arrested in the first place. And the judge yesterday slammed her for it. U.S. Magistrate Judge Andre Espinoza called the Department of Justice's dismissal of the case an embarrassing retraction and a worrisome misstep. So she had to go in, or, her team had to go in and request that the charges be dismissed. And he says that's an embarrassing retraction, and it truly is. I mean, it's worse than that, but that's what he called it, and that's pretty stern talk coming from a judge in, formal proceedings. Anyway, but here's why it was an embarrassing misstep, because how can a mayor be charged with trespassing for walking onto the property of a prison that's within his city that he has every right to visit? How is that trespassing? This whole thing was just so preposterous, absolutely preposterous. Look what the judge said. He said, your role is not to secure convictions at all costs, nor to satisfy public clamor, nor to advance political agendas. So he's saying, just right on its face, you, this whole arrest was political. And that's not what lawyers are supposed to do. And that's not what the Justice Department is supposed to do. He's calling them out for what they were and for what they did. And that's great. And then he says, your allegiance is to the impartial application of the law, to the pursuit of truth, and to the upholding of due process for all. I mean, it sounds like a first month of law school class. This is a harsh rebuke. It's a harsh rebuke to Alina Habba, and it's a harsh rebuke to the entire Justice Department from Pam Bondi on down. And, for their outrageous behavior in these cases, especially this case right now. Anyway, the problem with these people in the administration that Trump has appointed and that they've hired as his appointments. The point is, everything they do is for show. And if you don't think so, check this out. Did you know that Alina Habba's office announced the charges against the mayor on social media before she filed the papers in court? That's for show. If it's not for show, then you do it properly. You file the papers in court, and then you go public and announce it wherever you want, social media or whatever. But I think they have two audiences in mind for these shows. One is the MAGA base, of course, obviously, and the other is everybody else, which is maybe not so obvious. Why would they be, doing this for everyone else outside of their MAGA base when they know everyone else is going to hate it? Well, let's talk about the MAGA base for a minute. For the MAGA base, they're obviously doing it to keep their approval ratings high. And I know MAGA people look at these pictures of the mayor and the congresswoman being hauled away, and they love it. They absolutely love it. I know these people. I know what they're thinking. You know what they're thinking? I guarantee you, a lot of these people look at the pictures of the congresswoman, and they just think this. They look at her pictures, and they think welfare queen. Welfare queen. That's what they see. That's all they see. It doesn't matter what she is, what position she holds. It doesn't matter who she is or what she's accomplished. None of that matters to them. That's what they think. And whatever happens to her, to them, it's like, so be it. She deserves it. And they love seeing her hauled away. They love seeing the mayor hauled away. He has darker skin. I don't know what he is. I don't know what his ethnicity is. His name sounds a little foreign. Maybe they may be considering deporting him, but Haba sounds foreign too. Maybe they should deport her. Anyway, check this out. This was a comment. I had a guy on one of my videos post the other day. He goes, "What do you mean MAGA? Who is MAGA?" As if it's not a thing, and then as if they don't know who they are. Here's something a guy posted actually on a MAGA website, a big MAGA website, whose name I won't mention because I don't want to give them any additional publicity. Even if this video only gets 15 views, I don't want them to get that little publicity either. But in a reaction to a story on that site, they claim Congresswoman McIver said during an earlier protest back in Washington, a protest against Elon Musk and his influence over the federal government, she said, "We will not take this. We will fight back and shut this city down. We're at war." All right. That was said, free speech, during a protest in Washington against Elon. And I would imagine a majority of the country agrees with her basically on that, agrees with her basic sentiment anyway. Anyway, in reaction to that, Cowboy commented on the article claiming that she was promoting, can you guess? He said she's promoting an insurrection. Typical, right? So he goes, is that an insurrection I hear? Throw them in jail and hold them for 4 years without a trial. Trump, MAGA. See, they know who they are. First, I don't want to go into this, but no one was held illegally in jail for 4 years without a trial. No one. Everyone got due process and fair treatment. But anyway, so according to him, what she did, that's an insurrection. But this wasn't. The congresswoman said what she said at a peaceful rally, but they call this a normal tourist day at the Capitol. If you call what she did an insurrection, you have to call what they did an insurrection. If you call what they did an insurrection, though, then you have to condemn President Trump for making it one of his very first acts in office on the first day of this term, the pardoning of nearly 1,600 of these people. Compare this to free speech at a peaceful protest where there was no violence. And if there had been violence at the Congresswoman's rally, wherever she said these words, we would have all known about it already. This is the first we're hearing about this rally she was at in Washington. Anyway, earlier I mentioned they have two audiences for this show. One is MAGA and two is everyone else. But what would be the point in putting this on as a show for everyone else when they know good and well that most people are going to hate what they see here? I believe the point is twofold: to intimidate people and to instill fear. And the other is that boiling frog thing. They're poking and prodding to see how far they can go before we frogs start to feel the heat. If they don't get any pushback from us, then they'll turn the temperature up a little bit more. So what happened to Mayor Baraka and Congresswoman McIver isn't just a one-off mistake. It's a test of how far this administration can go in using the justice system to punish its enemies and to intimidate the rest of us into silence. Alina Habba and the DOJ got humiliated by a federal judge for this obvious abuse of power. But I don't think for a second that means they'll stop. If anything, it just shows how bold and reckless they are. This wasn't about justice. It was about the spectacle. Everything they do is about the spectacle. It was about scoring points with MAGA voters and sending a warning to the rest of us. Fall in line or face the consequences. That's authoritarianism 101. And we better call it what it is and never forget what it is before it becomes the new normal. Because the water's heating up. The water's heating up. And if we don't push back now, we may not get the chance to jump out later. So keep turning up the heat, not on the frogs, but on the truth. Keep the truth in your mind. When you hear all these lies are going to be coming out all the time, and we're going to get buried in lies. We're already buried in lies, and it's going to be hard to remember, wait, that didn't happen. That's not true. So we're going to have to work hard to consciously remember what the real story is on all these things. And that's why I said the other day, I think we should all watch a 5-minute segment of the January 6th insurrection attempt once a month. It should be required watching for all Americans every month until this guy is gone, until the scourge on American democracy is gone. Hey, thanks for watching. I appreciate it. And I'll see you next time. Take care and keep Christ first.